Hi, welcome back to a little bit of Calm and Crazy. My name is Jennifer, and today I'm so excited to share with you these new projects, and I hope that you love them as much as I do. If you are new to my channel, hello and welcome. I hope that you take a moment and introduce yourself in the comments below and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future DIYs. If you are returning, thank you so much. I'm glad that you are back, and I want to let you know that I appreciate all of your sweet comments. I know recently I haven't been able to get back to all of you, and that is because I have been so sick. I have read all of your comments, and I promise I am still trying to get back to you, but I did want to let you know that I am so sorry that I haven't yet. Now, if you don't know it, I am on Instagram. It is a little bit of Calm and Crazy over there, just like it is here, and I would love for you to follow me over there. So today's projects are inspired by Joanna Gaines. She recently redid her Magnolia store in Waco, and they had this whole beehive collection chandelier looking thing that they created, and it is so beautiful. And if you've been around, you know I really love natural elements of like rope and twine and wood, and when I saw that, I just was struck. I didn't know that at the time that I would want to recreate something, but the pieces just fell together, and here I am today sharing with you how I was inspired and how I recreated something off of my inspiration from what her team created. And I hope that I can inspire you today to create something as well. Of course, I took my own spin and did not recreate exactly what they created, and I know that that's kind of what you do when you see what I do. You take your own spin on things as well. I also really love the quote that they have when you walk into their doors. I thought that was a beautiful quote, and I wanted to do something along that same line. So I am so grateful for inspiration. The possibilities for this are endless. I think they'd be great for indoor spaces and outdoor spaces, baby nursery, and we'll get more into that as we go through the video. So let's go ahead and just jump right on into these projects. For the first project, you will need the sign that says "Keep it simple," as well as this printable that says "The world needs who you were made to be." This is this quote that Joanna Gaines had, and I created a printable, and I will have it linked for you below. So first we're gonna make a double-sided sign. So we're gonna work on the front side of this first. I cut out the string, and in order to fill the holes, I'm going in with some wood filler and packing that into the holes. Once that sets up, I go in with a little bit of white acrylic paint and a tiny paintbrush, and I just cover up the wood filler and I blend it in with my finger in order to just have it so you don't notice it. It's not perfect, but it does blend it in. After that, I go in with just a thin coat of Mod Podge so that the glitter stays put. Once the Mod Podge is set up, I'm going in with a little bit of hot glue and the rope, and just taking the rope all the way around the edges to give it a little bit more of a polished finished look. Now on the corners, you do want to be a little bit more careful and really making sure that you go in with a little extra hot glue and pinching in your corners and making sure that they are nice and secure. After that, the front side of the sign is done, and I think it is the perfect sign for spring and summer, and the bees are the perfect coordination to go along with the beehives that we will be creating. For the back side of the sign, you want to take the printable and print it out onto cardstock. And the reason why you want it printed out on cardstock is because you are tearing the edges and you want the different layers of the pages for the texture that it will provide as you tear. As you tear the sides of your sign, you're going to want to make sure that you tear off enough, that you bring them in enough that they are no longer hanging off the edges, and that they are then they now match the width of the sign. I hope that makes sense, because right now they're a little bit wider than the sign itself. Now this quote is the quote that Joanna Gaines has on her Magnolia store right when you walk in, and they actually did it on a sign that has like a plastered wall, and then they kind of took some of the plastered and made some of the wood look like it's showing through, and just kind of gave it a really old falling apart wall look. And so I really liked the texture of that wall. I thought it was really cool. Of course, I can't recreate that, and so this is my way of giving it texture. I think that this is a really great sign to put into like a boys' room, because it's definitely not too girly, but I also really happen to love maps, and so I have a room that does have like globes and maps and things like that, so this is where that is going in my home. I just think that it's such a fun idea and definitely a beautiful quote and a great reminder for all of us, but as a mom, it's definitely a quote that I give to my kids. After you have ripped all your edges, go ahead and add a thin layer of Mod Podge to your sign. A tip is to always put Mod Podge onto the thicker item or part of the project that you are adhering to. So I always prefer to add it to the sign rather than adding it to the paper because the paper can warp super easily. Once you have your layer of Mod Podge, go ahead and attach your sign and then smooth it out, making sure that all of your edges are attached so that nothing will peel up or pull up later. I like to go in and just really make sure that I'm pressing down all of the edges specifically. Once that has dried, you can go in with some Waverly wax in Antique onto a dry brush, and I always like to start on the edges first and take it around my edges, and then after I have hit the edges, whatever is remaining on my brush, then I will take it into the center of the paper and give it kind of just a old distressed look. And I really love the way that this turned out. Once that has set up, go ahead and with another layer of Mod Podge to seal it and protect it. Such a great quote. I hope you love this sign as much as I do. I love that this is a double-sided sign and so versatile. Now let's go ahead and move on to the beehives. So for the first beehive, I am using this drinking dispenser that I did pick up at the Dollar Tree. All you need to do is go ahead and remove the dispenser part, and then we're going to take some black acrylic paint and just paint right where the dispenser part was and a little bit outside of that area because we need to have that to be completely covered. You might need to go in with 2 coats in order to make sure that it is opaque enough. We will be covering the container in rope to create the beehive. You can get rope from the Dollar Tree. I do not think it's the most budget friendly. Luckily for me, my friend Frances was sweet enough and she gave me this huge thing of rope, and I am so excited to have this. Normally I do pick my rope up at Walmart. I do think that's a better price, or even Hobby Lobby with a coupon would be a better price than getting the rope at the Dollar Tree. To make sure that the hot glue sticks to the container, I'm going to completely cover it in some duct tape. I actually got this tip from Megan over on Glue Guns and Roses, and it's such a fabulous tip, so I'm so grateful to have it. So I just take it and I wrap it everywhere except for where I covered it with the black paint. I even make sure that I cover the top. Once it's completely covered in duct tape, now it is time to start adding our rope. So to begin with, I need to do the opening to the beehive, and so I'm taking a piece of rope and I'm just doing a double stack of rope. I don't know if that makes sense. And this is going to be my placement for that opening. So I just take it around, I add the hot glue and I twist it, and once I have my double stacked of rope, I add hot glue to it, and then I glue it straight down onto my container. Honestly, the hardest part about doing the entire beehive will be around the opening, as well as kind of like the neck of the beehive, and they're not even that hard. But it's not quite as fast as doing the rest of it because you are you are cutting, or at least I chose to cut because I wanted my rope to stay straight. And so as I was going around, every time I got back to the opening, I would cut my rope and hot glue it to secure it down, and then start with a new piece of rope and then go around again. And same thing, once I got back to the opening again, I would cut the rope again, secure it down, and I kept that process going. Once I finally cleared the ring, then I could just keep wrapping it around and I didn't have to stop. Now, when you go in at the neck, it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily hard. It's just you just go in. It's not that big of a deal. And you just keep the rope going up, and then you also just cover up the top. Keep going around, adding your hot glue and covering it. Once you've completely covered everything, I added one more good dab of glue in the center and then press that last piece down. To create the top, I did the exact same thing that I did for the opening. I did 2 layers of rope and created like a little rope ring, and then I hot glued that and secured that onto the very top of my beehive. And then I went in with some hot glue and some rope, and I started placing that inside of that ring. So I use that ring kind of as like a barrier so that I had a placement for my rope to stay, if that makes sense, so that it wouldn't go extended past that point. So I just kind of went around, and then once I got to the same height as my original, I went in with another piece of rope that I folded over, hot glued it closed, and then I hot glued it down. And that became kind of what looked like the little handle. Now, I will tell you, I would never lift it up from that because I think it could still fall apart. And then I just continued to add hot glue around that to make it look like I was nice and secure. So I just kept wrapping that around. Now, to give it a polished look, I went in with some more rope around my ring so that you wouldn't see those little edges that I cut as I was coming around that in the beginning. So I just wanted to kind of cover up those little raw edges and just have that one little area there. And then my first beehive is all the way done, and I think it turned out so cute. But what I love about this is that you can be creative with different shapes and things that you even have at your house. So here's an object that I actually found at a thrift store, and I thought it would be perfect for a beehive. And I'm going to go through the exact same process, but I have to be a little bit more creative with the top of it because it wasn't closed. So I'm going to use some cardboard, and this cardboard's a little bit thinner, so I'm just going to double stack a couple pieces and hot glue it, and then use some tissue paper to fill in that hole, and then hot glue that down onto the top. Now, I wanted my hole to be placed up a little bit higher, so again, I double stacked some rope, hot glued it up higher where I wanted it. Now, the difference with this is I did wrap my rope around to begin with at the bottom, and it went all the way around, and then when I got to where I had my beehive entrance, that's when I started having to cut my rope as I went along until I cleared that beehive entrance again, and then I could keep wrapping it around again. And then I finished this beehive off exactly like I did the first one, where I added the top on the top of it for that decorative element. And then I also took a piece of rope around the entrance to hide those pieces that I had cut from on one side and the other. I didn't want those pieces to show. Quick tip, if you have a lot of fuzzies from your rope and you want to get rid of them, go ahead and take a lighter. It will singe them right off without causing any damage. So this is currently how I have chosen to display everything in my home. You may recognize this area. This is actually where I record. I think this looks so cute. I actually think this would be so cute in like a baby's nursery. Now this cute little beehive I found at Ross. It was only $7, and you may recognize this bee from my latest haul. All I did was take a little bit of the Waverly Wax and Antique, and if you want to switch things up, flip the sign over, and it is that easy. I think that this turned out so cute. I love these. I would love to hear what you think. Please leave me a comment below. I always have fun interacting with you. I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.